The sky was red, always red in Sector 9. It wasn't fire, just dust. Endless clouds of fine rust from broken machines floating above the scrapyard like a thick blanket. The air smelled like oil and sadness. Big metal claws moved slowly, lifting. Giant pieces of junk-old parts, failed droids, cracked armorant, dropping them into the grinder. It roared loudly, its teeth spinning, eating everything without care. But then, one claw stopped. It was holding something different. It wasn't metal. It wasn't a machine. It was a girl, tiny, thin, barely breathing. Her alien skin was pale blue, covered in dirt and bruises. Her white hair was tangled like threads from an old mop. Her eyes were shut. One hand twitched, as if still trying to fight. Or maybe, hold on. The claw dropped her. She hit the junk pile with a soft thud, like a piece of cloth. No one noticed. No one cared. Just another piece of trash to be ground down and forgotten. But someone did see. From the edge of the pit, hidden. Behind a rusted metal wall, a man watched. His name was Eli, a human scavenger. He wore old armor patched with tape, and his hands were always dirty from digging. He wasn't rich, he wasn't important, but he had eyes. And a heart Eli had come to find spare fuel cells. The kind hidden inside wrecked ships or fallen cargo. Pods. He wasn't supposed to be near the grinder zone, too dangerous. But danger never stopped him. He needed credits to survive. But now, he forgot about the fuel cells. He kept staring at her. The girl didn't move. The grinder roared again. It was just 2 levels away. The next lift would carry her body straight to the teeth. Shit. Maybe 10 minutes. Eli's breath caught in his throat. "What the hell is this?" he whispered, stepping closer. She didn't look like a worker. Or a droid. She looked young. Maybe 13. Her clothes were torn. A loose silver band was still around her ankle tracker. The kind they put on slaves. He looked around. No guards, no alarms, no one watching. Still, his heart raced. This isn't my problem, he told himself. She's not human. She stirred just a little. Her fingers moved. Then, her eyes opened. One eye was swollen shut, but the other? It was large, glowing faintly purple, and filled with pain. Fear, confusion. She looked at him. Just for a second, and Eli felt something snap inside him. He jumped into the pit. The heat from the grinder made his skin sweat. He slid down a metal ramp, kicking away broken panels and sharp screws. The girl watched him, not blinking, not trusting, not believing. He knelt beside her. "It's okay," he said, not knowing why he said it. "You're not trash." Her lips trembled. She didn't speak. He touched her arm carefully. She winced. Her whole body was shaking, too weak to move. "Easy. I got you." With one quick motion, he lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Behind him, the warning bell rang. Next lift in 2 minutes. He looked up. No time to climb back the way he came, so he ran. Through a side vent, low and narrow, scraping his back against jagged metal. He held her close, shielding her body. At last, he found an exit door, half open. He kicked it, pushed through, and stumbled into his hover truck, parked in the shadow of a broken tower. Eli laid her gently on the seat. She looked up at him with wide, unsure eyes. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small water bottle. "Here, drink." She hesitated, then took it with shaky hands. She sipped like someone who hadn't tasted water in forever. Eli leaned back and stared at her. "What are you?" he whispered. "Why were they gonna grind you?" She said nothing. But after a moment, she reached into her torn pocket and pulled out something small. A glowing crystal shard. She held it toward him. Her hand was shaking. He took it slowly. It felt warm and familiar, like it was meant for him. And then her voice came. Soft, hoarse. Just one word. Safe. Eli blinked. She was asking, not demanding, not begging, just hoping. He nodded. Double quotes. Yeah, you're safe now. Outside, the grinder screamed. But inside the truck, everything was silent. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in who knows how long. She slept the next morning. Eli stood beside his hover truck, staring at the girl as she slept curled up on the back seat. Her skin looked like it hadn't felt sunlight in years. She was still wearing the same torn clothes, and her face was hidden behind long white strands of tangled hair. She hadn't moved since last night, kept to pull his jacket tighter around herself. Eli scratched his chin, uneasy. What did I just get myself into? He muttered. He had rescued broken bots before, saved dying creatures, even patched up old war droids. But this was a child, a living girl. Alien or not, she didn't belong in a grinder. He heard the scrapyard waking up again, loud machines, shouting workers, the buzz of metal claws. The grinder's teeth were turning like always, and yet no one noticed a child had gone missing. That told him something. Someone had wanted her gone, and no one was going to ask where she went. Suddenly, a loud knock hit the side of his truck. Hey, scavenger. An alien voice barked. Eli turned. Two alien workers in grease-stained uniforms stood by his door. One of them had yellow tusks. The other had a metal badge. You were spotted near the grinder last night, the tusked one said. Eli stayed calm, looking for spare fuel cells. Found some. We tracked movement near the trash level. Someone tampered with the security vent. Eli nodded slowly. Scrappers do that all the time. Nothing else. The one with the badge asked, squinting. Just scrap. Eli lied. Behind him, he felt the girl's breath on the back seat. She had pulled the jacket over her head, small, body tucked in like she was hiding from monsters. And maybe she was. The tusked alien stepped forward and looked. Inside the truck, Eli didn't move. Then the alien sniffed the air. Smells like something alive in there. Old rations, Eli said. You want a bite? The alien curled his lip in disgust and turned away. She's trash, you know, the badge wearer muttered. If someone tossed her into the grinder, it's because she was defective. Eli narrowed his eyes. She's not trash, he said coldly. They both laughed. Then why was she thrown away like one? She ain't worth your time, the other one said, walking off. They'll come collect her anyway if she's marked. It's better not be caught helping her. Eli closed the door gently as they left. He turned back to the girl. She was trembling, not from cold but from fear. He knelt beside her, lowering his voice. They're gone. You're safe. She peeked from under the jacket. Her one uninjured eye was wide, filled with unshed tears. I didn't tell them, he added. I won't. She nodded. Barely then she surprised him. She reached out slowly, hand touched. His hand not tight, just a soft press. Trust. Later that day, Eli drove the truck away from the scrapyard. He needed supplies, food, water, something for her to wear. He stopped at a market in the outer rim of the colony, a place where humans and aliens bartered under tarps and flashing neon signs. He left her hidden in the back, locked the truck from inside, and told her softly, "Don't open the door for anyone but me, okay?" She nodded again. Still no words. Inside the market, Eli grabbed a small blanket, some soft fruit, and protein cubes. He also found a second-hand tunic that might fit her. It was meant for a small alien child, but close enough. As he paid the vendor, a wrinkled alien woman grinned at him. "Your kid?" she asked. Eli hesitated, then smiled faintly. Something like that. When he returned to the truck, she was sitting up, still silent, still small, but awake. He offered her the blanket first. She stared at it, confused. Then he gently wrapped it around her shoulders. Next, he handed her food. She hesitated, as if afraid it might be taken away again. "Eat," he said. "It's yours." She ate slowly, one bite at a time. Her hands shook, but her eyes closed for a moment, as if she remembered what it felt like to be full. Eli watched in silence. Then he held out the tunic. "Better than what you've got on," Kay said. She looked at it, then at him. "Can I keep?" she asked softly. The words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't asking for clothes. She was asking for permission to exist. Eli nodded. Double quotes, "Yes, it's yours." That night, they camped outside the city walls. Safer that way. He gave her his old bedroll. She lay down, eyes open, staring at the stars above. Eli sat nearby, staring into the fire. "Do you have a name?" he asked. Silence. "I can give you one if you want." More silence. Then she spoke again, very quiet. "My name was Kayla." Eli smiled. "Kayla," he repeated. "That's a good name." She looked at him, uncertain. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "No," Eli said. "And you're not trash, Kayla?" Her lips trembled. And then, for the first time, she smiled, just a little, but enough to break his heart. The sun was rising behind the broken hills, casting pale golden light across the barren wastelands. Eli stood outside his hover truck, sipping from a dented metal cup. Watching the desert glow behind him, Kayla sat in silence. She had eaten. She had slept. She even smiled once. But now she sat cross-legged on the floor of the truck, wrapped in the old blanket. Staring at nothing, Eli had seen trauma before battle-shocked soldiers. Refugee children, even broken exobots with damaged memories. But this girl, a silence wasn't empty. It was full of pain. Full of stories. Full of moments too dark to speak of. She didn't cry, she didn't scream. But her silence said everything, inside the truck. Eli knelt down beside her. "Morning," he said gently. Kayla didn't look at him. She was holding something in her lap, the glowing crystal she had given him on the first night. She had taken it back, holding it close to her chest like a heartbeat. Eli looked at it. It pulsed softly, like it was alive. "You keep that close," he said. "Does it mean something?" Kayla didn't answer. After a long pause, she whispered, "Home." He blinked. "You're home." She nodded once. Before. Eli didn't push. Further, he knew pain when he saw it. Instead, he opened a pouch of fruit slices and laid them in front of her. "I'll be outside fixing the scanner," he said. "If you need anything, just knock on the wall." As he stepped out, he heard her voice again, so quiet, it was almost part of the wind. "Thank you." The truck's front scanner had been half fried since the scrapyard. Eli pulled it apart and worked with focused hands. But his mind wasn't on the wires. It was on her. She didn't act like a wild girl or some escaped experiment. She was careful, polite even. Too polite, like she'd been punished for every mistake. Like she'd been taught that speaking out meant pain. Eli sighed. He had just wanted to collect parts and stay out of trouble. Now he had a girl with no past, a glowing crystal, and more questions than answers. By the time he finished repairing the scanner, Kayla had stepped outside the truck. She stood barefoot in the red sand, staring at the horizon. The blanket still hung around her shoulders like a cape. The new tunic fit awkwardly, but it was clean. She looked delicate, like a glass sculpture. But Eli also saw something else. Strength, quiet strength. the kind that survives the unthinkable. Kayla turned and noticed him watching. "I like the sky here," she said, barely above a whisper. "Not much to look at," Eli replied. "Just dust and silence." She smiled. "Silence is safe." That answer chilled him. "What happened to you?" he asked gently. Kayla hesitated, then turned her back to him. She pulled the blanket aside and lifted her tunic just enough to show her back. Eli froze. There were long, straight burn marks. Scar tissue. Some healed, some not. Thin lines like wires had been pressed against her skin over and over again. Someone had tortured her, not once. Many times, he looked away. Eyes burning. "I'm sorry," he said. Kayla covered herself and sat down on the sand. "It's okay. I lived." Eli didn't speak. She looked up at him and added, "Most didn't." Later that evening, they sat by a small fire near the rocks. The stars had started to shine. Kayla was curled beside him, eating. Slowly, she still flinched at sudden noises. She never turned her back to open spaces, but she was no longer hiding under the seat. Eli handed her a small music player, an old Earth model. It still worked, barely. "Here," he said. "Try this." She looked at it curiously. He pressed play, soft. Music played simple piano sounds. Kayla's eyes widened. She stared at the player like it was magic. "Music?" she whispered. "You've heard it before. Once, long ago, they destroyed it." She held it gently in both hands, like it might break if she breathed too hard. Then she closed her eyes, and for the first time, Eli saw her relax. Not fully, but enough to let a small tear roll down her cheek. He didn't say anything, he just let her listen. When the fire burned low, Kayla spoke again. "I remember a room, white, cold, lights in the ceiling." Eli listened, silent. "They made us stand still. Tested our blood, our minds. Those who failed disappeared." Her voice cracked, but she kept speaking. "I was small, too soft, they said. Not useful. They called me error, so they threw me away." Eli's hands clenched into fists. "Monsters," he growled. Kayla looked at him. Double quotes, no, they were people. Important ones. Wearing badges, her voice dropped. One of them said, "She's not even worth parts." Eli looked at her, his voice steady but full of fire. They were wrong. She blinked. "You're not an error," he said. "You're not trash. You're Kayla." She stared at him. Then something inside her finally cracked. Kayla leaned against him slowly. Her head rested on his shoulder. She didn't say a word, but her silence. It wasn't empty anymore. It was safe. It was healing. And Eli knew this was just the beginning. The next morning, the desert was quiet again, too quiet. Even the wind was still. Eli sat inside the hover truck, fiddling with his old scanner. The signal booster wasn't working right. Every few seconds, it flashed red and let out a high-pitched beep. Kayla sat across from him, legs folded under her, hugging the blanket close. She was watching him now, with fear but curiosity. "What's that?" she finally asked. Eli smiled a little. It was the first question she'd asked since they met. "Scanner. Helps me check for danger or find lost tech." She tilted her head. "Find people too." He paused, surprised. "Sometimes. Why?" Kayla looked down. Her fingers fidgeted with the crystal shard again. "If you scan me, will it tell you who I am?" Eli looked at her carefully. "Do you want me to?" She nodded slowly. "I think someone important once said I had a mark, but I don't remember what it means." Eli swallowed hard. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable, but if she wanted answers, maybe the scanner could help. "All right," he said gently. Just hold still. He knelt beside her and carefully adjusted the scanner's antenna. The small machine hummed. A blue light passed over her face, then down her arms. Nothing. Then it reached her neck. Beep. The scanner froze. Lines of alien symbols filled the screen. A red warning flashed. Royal gene sign detected, classified. Xenarian bloodline level. El Pachai stared, confused. He tapped the screen again. Another message appeared. Subject, lost entity. Confirmed heir to Xenarian crown protocol. His eyes widened. He looked up at Kayla. What's the Xenarian crown? Kayla shook her head. I don't know. I don't. Remember? Eli slowly reached out and moved her hair aside. There it was. Behind her left ear, hidden under grime and dust, was a small, glowing mark. It looked like a crescent moon made of tiny silver lines. The symbol pulsed faintly. Like a heartbeat, it wasn't a tattoo. It was burned into her genes. Kayla was royalty, a lost heir. A Princess Eli sat back hard, trying to breathe. They had tossed her into a grinder like garbage. But she was royalty. Why? Would someone do that? He looked at her again. Kayla, someone did this to you on purpose. They didn't just hurt you. They tried to erase you. She frowned. Erase. Erase means make you disappear, like you never existed. Her face went pale. Why? I don't know, Eli whispered. But if this mark is real, then someone very powerful wanted you gone. Kayla looked scared again. Are they coming? Eli looked down at the scanner. Another message blinked. Tracking attempt detected. Signal mask required. He shut the scanner off fast. They already know you're alive. They packed quickly. Eli threw supplies into the back of the truck. Water, food packs, tools. He gave Kayla a set of old goggles and a scarf to cover her face. She didn't ask questions. She just obeyed, calm but alert. As they drove across the desert, Eli glanced at her. You okay? Kayla nodded. I don't want to go back there. You won't, he said firmly. You promise. He looked her straight in the eyes. I promise. They made it to an abandoned bunker hidden beneath a collapsed mining site. Eli had used it years ago when he was still running from bounty hunters. It was dusty but secure. Inside, Kayla helped him set up camp. She moved slowly but with purpose. Later that night, by a small lantern, Eli pulled out a datapad and searched for the word Xenarian. The results shocked him. Xenarians weren't just some alien race. They were rulers of 7 systems and empire. Built on ancient power, lost nearly a decade ago after the mysterious death of the royal line. It was believed the last heir died in a lab fire. A girl no older than 5, no body was ever found. No name ever confirmed, until now. Kayla sat beside him, quietly drawing in the dirt with her finger. Eli asked, Do you remember any names? Anyone who was kind to you? She looked up. Maybe? A woman with silver eyes. She called me Little Star. Eli's heart twisted. And the others? They said I had no right to live. They called me a mistake. He reached over and placed a hand over hers. You're not a mistake, Kayla. You're a survivor, and you matter. She looked at their hands. Slowly, her fingers curled around his. That's when the lantern flickered, and the scanner beeped once. Eli picked it up. A new alert glowed across the screen. Tracking signal locked. Approach in 2.4 hours. They were coming. Eli looked at Kayla. She didn't need to ask. She saw the worry in his eyes. Do we run again? She asked softly. He shook his head. No. He picked up his blaster, checked the charge. This time, they weren't running. This time, he was ready to protect her. Whatever she was, princess or not, she was precious to him now. and no one was taking her away again. The sound of engines echoed in the distance. Not scavenger trucks. Not mining ships. These were silent hovercrafts government class. Kayla sat near the bunker wall, knees pulled close to her chest. Her hands gripped the glowing crystal, pressing it tightly against her heart. Her big purple eyes stared at Eli as he prepared. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. He was strapping on his old shoulder armor, checking the charge on 2 blasters and attaching his EMP knife to his boot. The tension in the air was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. "Are we running again?" Kayla asked in a small voice. Eli paused. He looked at her and shook his head. "No." She blinked, unsure if she had heard right. "We're not running, Raleigh?" she asked. He stepped closer, crouched down to her level. "I said I'd protect you. That means not running anymore." Kayla stared at him. She had been running her entire life, running from tests, from pain, from people who wanted her erased. Now someone stood between her and them. Not because he wanted power, not because she was royal, but because she mattered to him, and that changed everything. They had less than 2 hours. Eli placed motion detectors near the bunker's entrance. They would beep if anything came close. He set up an energy pulse in the dirt, a low-powered trap that would slow down anyone trying to walk in silently. "Will it stop them?" Kayla asked. "No," Eli said honestly, "but it'll make them work for it." Kayla stood by his side, watching everything. "I want to help." Eli looked at her, surprised. "You don't need to." "I do," she said. "I don't want you to fight alone." He handed her a small cum device. "If we get separated, use this. Press here to call me. Don't drop it." She nodded, gripping it tightly. Then she reached into her tunic. From inside, she pulled out something small. A thin bracelet made of tiny wires and a silver band. It looked broken, but it glowed faintly, like it still had power. "I saved this," she said softly. "Before they threw me away." Eli raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "It listens. It remembers." He took it and connected it to his pad. The screen flickered, then played a distorted audio file. Subject Kayla shows signs of cognitive resilience, marked by prophecy. Unstable bloodline must be neutralized. A pause. Delete the record. Number. Survivors, no memory. Eli's blood ran cold. He looked at her. They wanted to erase history. She nodded slowly. And me with it. The sun was low now. Red light spilled across the dry land like blood. Then the first motion detector beeped. Eli stood, eyes sharp. A craft hovered into views, sleek, dark, and silent. It landed smoothly, dust rising from its engines. 6 armored figures stepped out. Alien soldiers in matte black suits. No faces, no names, no hesitation. They were here for her. One of them raised a loudspeaker. "Human scavenger. Release the subject. This does not concern you." Eli stepped out of the bunker slowly. Kayla hid behind the doorway, heart pounding. "You threw her in a grinder," Eli said loudly. "That's not how you treat someone you care about. She is dangerous. Unstable. She belongs to us." "Doesn't belong to anyone," Eli snapped. "She's a child." The lead soldier stepped forward. "Final warning. Move aside." Eli's hand hovered near his blaster. He didn't move. "I told her she was safe. I keep my promises." The first shot came without warning. A sharp plasma bolt hit the dirt near Eli's feet. He rolled aside, pulled his blaster, and fired back, striking one in the shoulder. Sparks flew. Kayla cried out from inside. Eli ducked behind a rock as 3 soldiers advanced. The fight had begun. Inside the bunker, Kayla clutched the cum and crystal tight. Her eyes glowed faintly, reacting to the sound, to the fear, to something inside her that had been asleep. She heard Eli yell. She couldn't hide. Anymore, not now. She stepped out. The air around her shimmered. For just a moment, she raised the crystal high. Suddenly, everything stopped. The soldiers froze. Even Eli felt the air grow heavier. The crystal released a small wave of light, pure and silent, and the lead soldier dropped his weapon. "What is this?" One of them gasped. Eli turned, confused. "Kayla." Voice was calm, clear. "Leave," she said, "or the stars will remember what you've done." The soldiers backed up, uncertain. One of them, taller than the others, spoke into a communicator. "Subject has awakened. Orders." The reply came. "Stand down. Do not engage. Retreat immediately." Just like that, they began to leave. No more shots, no more threats, only silence. After the ship disappeared into the sky, Eli sat beside the fire, still catching his breath. Kayla sat across from him, legs crossed. "What happened back there?" he asked. She looked at the crystal. "I don't know. I just knew I had to stop them." And it listened. Eli stared at her. "You stopped trained killers." With light. Kayla shrugged, eyes tired. "I didn't mean to, but I think I'm not as broken as they thought." Eli smiled. "No, Kayla, you're something they never understood." She tilted her head. "What's that?" He leaned forward. "Precious." She smiled softly. And for once, no fear followed her smile. Asterisk the fire crackled gently in the bunker. Eli stared at Kayla as she sat across from him, holding the crystal close. It no longer glowed wildly. Now it pulsed calmly like a heartbeat. Steady and warm, she was calm too. Strangely calm, like something inside her had clicked into place. Eli leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Kayla, do you know what you did back there?" Kayla nodded. "I stopped them." "How?" She shook her head. "I didn't know I could. It just happened." Eli rubbed his hands together. "That wasn't just power. That was command. You told them to leave. And they did." "They were scared," Kayla whispered. Eli nodded slowly. "They weren't just scared of you. They were scared of what you might become." Later that night, Kayla sat with Eli's datapad. She had started reading now, fast, like her mind was unlocking memories, bits and pieces rushing back. Her fingers danced across the screen. "There was a story," she said softly, "from my planet. About a child born under 2 moons. With a spark in her blood." Eli looked at her. "A prophecy." She nodded. "The elders feared it. Said the child would bring change. Unwanted change." "Did they ever say what kind of change?" "No." Kayla frowned. "Only that her power would come if she was loved." Eli blinked. "Loved?" Kayla's voice was quiet. "They believed if no one loved the child, the power would die." Eli sat back, stunned. "That's why they isolated you."
"Hurt you?"
"Threw you away." She nodded slowly. "They tried to kill the feeling inside me. But then you came." Silence stretched between them. Then Eli asked, "Why the crystal? Why does it respond to you?" Kayla opened her palm. The crystal hovered slightly above it, spinning slowly. "I think it's not just a key," she said. "It's alive. It holds memory." She reached out and placed it against the datapad. The screen flickered. A projection appeared, a younger version of Kayla, maybe 5 years old, sitting on a soft blue pillow, giggling. Then a woman appeared beside her, silver eyes, long robes, a warm, gentle smile. "Kayla," the woman said in the recording, "you are not a weapon. You are a gift. You will forget me one day, but this crystal will remember. And if someone ever calls you precious, truly precious, Then your power will awaken not to destroy, but to protect. Eli stared at the image, stunned. Kella's lips trembled. That's her, she whispered. The woman who called me? Little Star, your mother, Eli asked. I think so. Kayla looked down at the crystal. So that's why it reacted. You called me precious. Eli nodded, feeling something deep shift in his chest. I meant it. Kayla looked at him, really looked, not as a stranger. Not even as a protector, but as the one person who saw her not for what she was told to be, but for what she truly was. The next day, Eli guided Kayla to a cave hidden near the old bunker. He had remembered storing something there years ago on Old Beacon. Outlawed now, capable of sending deep-range signals across systems. They dusted it off together. Where does it go? Kayla asked. Depends who's listening, Eli replied. It could reach resistance groups, old allies of the Xynarian line, or someone worse. Kayla paused. Do you think someone good is still out there? Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. You're proof that something survived. Maybe others did too. Kayla looked down. I want to know who I am, not just what they told me. I want answers. Eli smiled. Then let's call out to the stars. Powered the beacon and placed the crystal on top. It glowed. The beacon hummed and began transmitting a soft, encrypted Polskala's unique genetic signature. That night, as they waited for a reply, Kayla sat outside the cave, watching the sky. Eli joined her. You scared me, you know, he said. She raised a brow. When you stood up to those soldiers, you were brave. But I thought I was going to lose you. Kayla gave a small laugh. I thought I was going to lose you. Eli looked at her, surprised. You don't talk much, he said, but when you do, you say big things. She smiled shyly. Before you found me. I didn't think kindness was real. Eli nodded. I didn't think royalty could be gentle. They sat quietly for a moment. Then Kayla leaned against him. You didn't know I was royal, she said. But you treated me like I mattered. Anyway, he looked down at her. That's because you do. Power or no power. Kayla whispered something he barely heard. I'm not afraid anymore. Then the beacon blinked. A message. Eli scrambled to the datapad and opened the transmission. To the holder of the Xynarian mark. If this signal is real, and if she is alive, we are coming. Hold on. We have waited for her return. Kellas. Eyes widened. Eli read it twice, his hand shaking slightly. You're not alone anymore, he said. Kayla looked up at the stars, her voice soft and certain. I never was. Not after you found me. The stars shimmered above like diamonds, silent, endless. Watching, Kayla stood outside the cave, her white hair dancing in the cold wind. She was barefoot, but the dirt didn't bother her anymore. Her glowing crystal hovered above her hand, spinning gently, humming like a lullaby from a forgotten world. Eli stood a few feet away, watching her with quiet awe. She looks like she belongs up there, he thought. Not down here in the dirt and pain. It had been only 2 days since they sent the signal. Now, the sky was changing. A new star had appeared, growing brighter by the hour. It wasn't a star. It was a ship. A large one. It was coming for her. Kayla didn't sleep that night. She sat beside the fire, staring into the flames. Her thoughts were full of pain, of survival, of memories coming back piece by piece. She remembered the white rooms, the scientists, the endless tests. She remembered the bruises and burns. But now, she also remembered her mother's voice. That soft whisper, you are not a mistake. You are light in a dark world. And now Eli's voice too. You're precious. That word changed everything. They tried to make her forget what she was, but kindness brought it back. Not just power, identity, The next morning, the ship arrived. It didn't land like the others. It hovered with silence and grace. A ramp extended slowly. Kayla stepped forward, Eli at her side. From the ship came figures in long white robes. Their faces were soft. No weapons. Just respect. At the front, an older woman stepped forward her. Hair was silver, her eyes the same as Kella's. Tears welled in the woman's eyes as she whispered, "Little star." Kayla stopped. Her eyes widened. She didn't remember everything, but her heart did. "Mother?" The woman nodded, falling to her knees and opening her arms wide. Kayla walked forward slowly. Then ran. She fell into the woman's arms, trembling. For the first time in years. She was home. Eli stood back, hands in his pockets. He smiled, but his chest felt heavy. He had found her in a pit of garbage. Half dead, silent, scared now. She stood tall in front of royalty, surrounded by people who looked at her like she was. The son, one of the guards, turned to him. "You have no idea what she is, do you?" Eli looked at him. "It's a girl who deserved better. That's all I needed to know." The guard nodded slowly. The prophecy said she'd be saved by someone, not of our kind. Someone who gave her love instead of power. We believed it was a myth. Eli shrugged. Maybe it was. Until she looked at me and asked if she was safe. The guard bowed. "On behalf of the stars." "Thank you, human." Kayla returned to Eli. "Well, you come with us?" she asked quietly. Eli smiled gently. "I don't belong with kings and queens, Kayla. I'm just a scavenger." She looked hurt, but you're more. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't need me anymore. You found your light." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I want you there." Eli paused. He'd always been alone. But now, someone wanted him to stay. "Maybe for a little while," he said. Her smile lit up the sky as the ship lifted off. Kayla stood beside Eli at the observation deck, staring down at the planet growing smaller. She whispered, "They tried to grind me down like trash." Eli looked at her, "But you weren't trash." She nodded. Double quotes, "No, I was a seed." He raised a brow. "A seed." She turned to him with a soft smile. "They buried me thinking I was waste. But I grew, and now I bloom." Eli smiled wide. "You're not walking among trash anymore." Kayla finished the sentence for him. "I walk among stars." The stars blinked around them. Kayla held his hand, and they moved forward. Not as a runaway girl and a lost scavenger, but as a family created not by blood, but by kindness.